All right, welcome back, everybody. Anybody that's new here, thanks for joining me today. Hopefully the thumbnail and description kind of makes this self-explanatory. If not, I'm basically going to show you how to use stuff to catch those guys. And, well, the thumbnail will have the other toothy critter in it. Hopefully that's why you guys understand this one. But we're going to start with 3 simple things to basically make, well, I'm going to call it a invisible... I have one on here, an invisible leader strong enough to catch northern pike or big walleye. For instance, that's an 8-pound walleye. I've caught bigger ones. The big thing here is the teeth and not wanting to use steel. Any of you guys that have been around for a while and you've been giving me crap like I don't have it, these are all steel leaders. There's like 25 of them there, and I've used them in the past. Here's the big thing. I'm not worried about it because I'm never going to get sponsored by a steel leader company. I have no interest in it. I probably make my own. As you guys know, if you've been around for a while, I make my own. But we'll get into it. But the big thing I wanted to get to across here before we get into this video is I've used steel leaders. They do work once in a while for northern pike. Obviously, big pike, big muskie and stuff like that, they don't care. But those guys right there, they care. So let's get into it. Okay, so like I was saying before, the big thing here is I make these myself. I've been doing this for a long time. You can buy them. I don't care if you want to or not. But I'm going to show you the reason I do this the way I do. What would you say? I use a line-to-line knot often. One thing I do, and I just had to go buy a bunch of this. This is not cheap stuff. It's not cheap. Not cheap at all. So I'm going to link it all in the description for you guys to see how expensive it is. If you want to build it yourself, I'll link everything I use. So first things first, you're going to need some kind of fluorocarbon. Now, my thing is I like using as heavy as I can get away with. And I don't know if you can see it there, how thin this stuff is. That's why I bought the Seagar. Plus, it's been around forever. I mean, if you don't know the name Seagar and you fish big fish, I'm surprised. I use a variety of different snaps. So these guys, this series of things with these snaps is going to be specifically for big northern pike and throwing northern pike gear. So that's 80-pound Seagar, which some of you guys are going to think is overkill, but I can't afford to lose baits. So the big thing here is that's one of the main reasons I'm using such heavy stuff. Same thing with these. These are very heavy snaps. And then I like these S-Pro power swivels. They're just a beefy dual, I forgot how they say it, but it's like a bearing swivel or whatever. Here's a big image of it on the back. So that's the swivel I like to use. These are, it says 4-10, so it's a size 4. Basically, so it's a pretty beefy size. But the big thing I'm trying to get across to you guys is this stuff that we're building today, if you guys are looking at this to build it, is not necessarily fishing for those guys. Unless you're trolling or something like that. I guess you could troll with this as a leader if you wanted to use braid. But it doesn't really matter if you're fishing for walleye because unless you get a lot of bite-offs. So the whole point of the video today is I got too many bite-offs. I lost about $35 to $40 in baits in that one day. I will actually post that video at the end of this one if you guys want to see what was going on with that. So just stay tuned till the end, and I'll post a video for the reasoning in this video. And you guys will understand right away because I had so many bite-offs. And if you guys don't understand already, I might be targeting those fish. So let's get into this. Okay, so I'm going to do it this way so hopefully you guys can see the things you need. I'll try to point them out, and if I need to, I'll do some close-ups for you guys. Obviously, you're going to need to see close-ups of the knot and the gist of everything. But to start off, it's going to be really simple. So I'm going to list, like I said, everything in the description for you guys if you want to pick it up yourself. It's all pretty simple stuff. I'm sure if you've got a favorite of anything, you can use that, but these are just things that I like to use when I'm targeting really big fish. All right, so first thing you're gonna need is a swivel, one clip or claps. These are called snaps. And if you want to see, you can kind of see on my hand how big that is. These are just beefy snaps, and I'll talk to you about the reason why I use a snap instead of a regular swivel. So a regular swivel would be built up with a split ring between here. This is the secret for why I build these the way I do. So snap, swivel, line is going to go in between. I'll throw these away. Now, the big thing here is this length is all dependent on how you want your baits to work. A lot of people will run super long ones or super short ones. I'm kind of, I want it to be in the middle thing. So I'm going to show you guys something here that you need to understand. If you see this, you see that kink? That's what fluorocarbon does, it kinks. So they had it wedged in here. I'm gonna just tape it back down, but what I'm gonna do right away is cut that kink off. So I cut the kink off of there. And then I'm just gonna very carefully unroll this. And I can eyeball it, that's about 2 feet. I'm gonna go about 4 more inches past that, so that's why I laid these out on the table. You can see that. I'm gonna go four more inches past that, because this stuff, when you tie knots in it, really takes up a lot of line. Okay, so one thing I kind of messed up on, and it's just something I can deal with, but so I already cut this. One thing you can do is you can tie this while it's still attached. What I'm going to start with here is this Pro swivel, the S Pro swivel. What you're going to do is you're going to tie this to this first, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, a lot of people, when they're using heavy fluorocarbon, will do a clasp, which you can do that, but it just adds weight. So the thing I'm trying to do here is try to keep my presentations as natural as possible, because one, Northern Pike like natural presentations. They will basically bite anything that's shiny. But the big thing here is I want my weight to be as minimal as possible. So the type of knot I'm doing, I still haven't come to the terms with the knot name. You guys can probably figure this out for me. Anybody who's seeing this for the first time or happens to know and you guys want to help me out, name this knot. Put it in the comments below. So I'm going to go through this twice. So I already did this. You go through once, build a loop, go through twice. So I'm going to pinch that. You see I've created a loop, and I'm going to pull that loop a little bit smaller right there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around my line away from me 4 times. So keep it simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 loops around the line. I'm still holding both of those little loops, and I'm going to stick that tag in through those little loops. Like I said, if you guys know the name of this knot, please inform me so I can get this right. And then back through that main loop you just created, and then you have to wet it. Alright, so I wet it down by spit, whatever, and I bit down on this to pull on it. If you don't want to pull your teeth out, grab your Spro swivel and pull tight on the line here, and then take another pliers and pull that knot tight and just kind of work it tight so that it slides down. And this is why you gave yourself that extra, like, That's why you gave yourself that extra like 4 inches so that you could work this knot down. The biggest thing with this knot that I don't like, but it seems to work the best for this type of material, is that it'll loop around that eye sometimes, and you just got to kind of scoot everything to the one side so that the material is all on one part of the loop. Otherwise you end up with like it's locked up on there. You got to make sure you get all of that to one side. I'm going to do that and then I'll come back. Okay, so it's a bit of a process to get it to line up the way I wanted it to. But you can see now the tagline is lined up because I pulled it in line with the main part of that. And then I got that knot all tightened down on the one side. And now I'm going to take my scissors and very carefully, pay attention here, because I've done this in the past. I'm going to cut the tagline with about 1/4 inch. So I've done this before where I've made this knot, got everything in line like I wanted to, and then instead of cutting the tagline, you cut the main line, and you got to start all over. So pay attention to what you're cutting there. But basically, the idea here is you can take this and pull on it. This is 80 pounds, so you're not going to break it. And slide that knot nice and tight to there. So now I have a swivel right here that works freely. And then I have my length of line. And I'm going to do that same knot on my clasp. So I'm not going to show you guys the struggle again. You know how hard that is. Like I said before, please do me a favor. Name this knot. Somebody figure this out. I can't figure it out because I learned it, I think, off of a Rapala website where there was like a list of knots and I was trying them all. And this was the one that I liked the most. And yeah, it seems to work. I use it a lot in wintertime on really thin line. That could be why I like it so much, because it seems to double your knot strength. But either way, if you guys figure out the name of this knot, comment below. So it's the way the knot is you go through it once, then through it again, hold that loop, go around 4 times, come back through those double loops, go back through the main loop, and then tie it tight. And that's the knot. You guys need to go back and watch this other part. I'm going to skip ahead and show you basically the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Alright guys, so I have it all attached now. And you can see, so I tied that same knot, like I said, onto the clasp. You guys saw me do that one. Now, like I said, you want to cinch those down and make sure they're really tight so they have no way to slip. And I used the pliers holding onto that and then like wrapped that around my hand and then pulled it really tight. I did the same with this one. I grabbed that end with the pliers, pulled it really tight. Like I said, this is 80-pound braid, or 80-pound fluorocarbon. So it's not going to break anytime soon. Now, the reason for the fluorocarbon is, the reason I run it is so that I can do this. So a lot of people will think like, you know, well, that's kind of what I thought, and I completely forgot about the idea of just building these guys. So that looks kind of hideous, but when you're fishing for northern pike with frogs, which I want to try, this free-floating thing is much lighter than steel. It might get hung up a little bit more on pads because of the leaders and stuff like that. This stuff like here. But it's 80 pound, and that's 30 pound braid. So if I get stuck in a pad, I can pull this out. But the big thing here is it allows this to walk. You can still walk your frogs and stuff like that. The other thing is aside from frogs, if I want to, I can even run some swim baits. So that's kind of hideous, but they'll still hit that. And that's the thing, is like, my idea here is to make it so that I can still fish some of the smaller profile stuff and not have to worry about getting bit off here. The pike have a hard time biting through 80 pounds. I don't care what northern pike you have on. You could probably use this for muskie, actually. But needless to say, the swim bait will still swim just fine. And yeah, we'll stick some teeth finally, on purpose, that is. All right, guys. So hopefully that was a simple little how-to on that. I just want you guys to know. So like I did that with 80-pound cigar, which is pure fluorocarbon. But you can do that same thing with any line you use. Obviously I have an abundance of extra line. So what I do is instead of throwing away those spools that only have like a little bit left on them, I keep them laying around in case I want to make leaders. Now the thing is obviously this. So like this is a 6-pound and this is a 4-pound. Those are leaders for very little fish. Problem with that is like you make a leader like that so you can use like an action bait or something like that, and you know, big northern pike will eat an action bait whether you have 4-pound or not. So the big thing here is for your big rods, and when you're using heavy duty line like that, my big thing is I don't normally fish that way. I'm an ultralight fisherman. I try to keep everything very, minimalistic. This is only 8-pound braid. This is 4-pound line. This is 6-pound P line, like very light stuff usually. But I'm thinking in the near future here, I'm gonna go try and target some toothy critters. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I mean, it was a real simple one. We're gonna get into stuff like this pretty soon here. Well, not pretty soon. We got a little ways off. I might do some fishing for those, but I'm thinking I'm gonna go fishing for those northern pike pretty soon. And I wanted to give you guys just like a little heads up on how I do that without using steel leaders. I have, like I said, I have steel leaders, and if I, go throwing for really big northern pike or muskie, I will use steel because they will bite it off if they're real big. So like a 40-inch northern pike or, a 50-inch muskie will shear 80-pound fluoro. But you can get away with it. So there's that. You have that double option for an invisible leader. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Obviously, if you're not new here, you know what's up. But if you are new, can you please just remember to